Sarah?
Hey everyone, I'm Lucy.
And I'm Tamoor.
And we've just been watching Black Mirror Season 4, episode Arkangel, and we're here to break it down, go over all the Easter eggs you might have missed.
But before we do that, please remember to like this video and subscribe. If you do want to watch those breakdowns, you'll need to hit that subscribe button, and you do want to watch them because we've gone into excruciating detail on every single episode. There's things in there that you will never know unless you watch our videos. Guarantee it.
So we're breaking down every episode, and we also have some theories about the whole thing and how it all might be connected, so make sure you subscribe. Anyway, enough of this. We're going to be breaking down Arkangel. Goes without saying, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers. Come on.
Spoilers ahead.
So the main theme of Arkangel is how parents can use technology, for better or worse, to protect their children from the outside world. Obviously, we live in a society right now where you have things like Mumsnet, Facebook, where parents can connect with each other and discover ways to protect their children, to raise their children. There's also internet service providers. They can block certain websites for children. There are parental guidance, parental locks and everything.
Parents have a way of finding that stuff, and even if they're not internet savvy, they use it to monitor you. So they might not be like, for example, my mother doesn't use Instagram in any way but to look at pictures of me. So like if
my mother absolutely stalks me on
so on a
Instagram.
day-to-day basis, your parents are kind of savvy enough to use this technology, but what happens when that all converges in a way that it's specifically for this one thing? And that's what this explores, both the good and the bad in that.
These are her vitals. Healthy heartbeat. Oh, I see her iron levels are a little low. How is she eating?
Man, she's picky. She hates green, so...
You might want to think about nutritional supplements.
This fear manifests itself very, very early in the episode. So you have the mother, who's Marie. She's giving birth via cesarean section, so she's already feeling... There is literally a partition between her and her child, and her daughter Sarah's born, and she can't hear her. The doctors aren't telling her anything. There is the immediate fear. There's no one else there for her. And this is like a seed planted so early in the episode. And then later on, she takes her child to the park. She's 3 years old. She goes missing. I mean, what would be running through your mind as a parent?
How can I track this little monster and make sure that it doesn't disappear like this again? And that's exactly where Arkangel comes in. So after that moment, she kind of is spurred into action and goes and decides to this Arkangel project, which is free. Free stuff is always a trap. Be careful about that.
Ain't nothing about free lunch.
Yeah, so she gets an implant put into Sarah and then is able to basically track her movements. That's one degree of tracking, but she can also do things like see through Sarah's eyes to see what she's seeing at any given moment, and also, you know, censor anything that she believes will cause stress in Sarah. And it manifests with like pixelated kind of filter over things that could be threatening to her, and also audio is kind of distorted so you can't hear it. So
you can also monitor things like cortisol levels for stress, heart rate, narcotics if they're in the system. It's basically this one-stop shop to monitor your child in every single way possible to protect them from the outside. But unfortunately, as Sarah gets older and she goes to school, she hasn't been afforded the same opportunities and experiences as her classmates, because not everyone obviously has this system, and her classmates find her weird because she hasn't experienced things. She doesn't know what they're talking about half the time. She can't see violence. She hasn't been exposed to that, and as such can't form a regular reaction to it. She doesn't have a reaction to things, which is kind of the point of the episode. Like, she has, later on, she has this confrontation with her mum. She's like, needs to stop. She needs her privacy. She's getting older. But the mother, while she agrees to do that for a while, you can't take Arkangel out once it's in.
yeah, the message it's presenting is like, at a certain point, you have to let your kids be exposed to these things. To make them healthy, they need to be exposed to stuff that is unhealthy for them, that you may consider unhealthy. So they're able to rationalize and build up the kind of barrier they need to do things like see blood or deal with emotionally charged situations.
And unfortunately for Sarah, you know, she is growing up, she's got her first boyfriend, she's just trying to fit in and have friends. The Arkangel's been disabled, so she can actually partake in things and understand what her friends are talking about now most of the time. But unfortunately there's one event and her mother uses it again, and it's this intrusive presence now in Sarah's life and she doesn't know that it's there. So her mother witnesses things that she really wishes that she hadn't. She gets involved, she threatens her boyfriend Trick. And it's just this line of parenting where does parenting become too much? And that's why at the end of Arkangel, Sarah, upon discovering that her mother has secretly smuggled her a emergency contraceptive pill, bludgeons her mother to the point of passing out for sure, and manages to escape and get away. So let's talk about the legalities of the Arkangel software itself. I mean,
Mad illegal, yo.
mad illegal, trial run, you know, it's certainly not the norm. It's not like in another Black Mirror episode where, you know, they frequently have a piece of technology that everyone has access to. The Arkangel is on a very limited trial run. As far as we know, Sarah is one of the only children in the US to have it. None of the rest of her classmates have it. And later on in the episode, we discover it's been banned in Europe and is going to be banned in America.
People have figured out the concerns here, namely the lack of privacy and the encouragement it can provide parents to encroach on the kind of child's life and territory outside of, you know, the normal period of time when they're fragile, and how that stunts the growth emotionally and physically of a person. Your exposure to the rest of the world is at the mercy of someone else who's always going to be overprotective of you. Because if they weren't overprotective, they wouldn't have an Arkangel. Sarah's mum only has it because she's reached this point where she believes she needs to fully wrap her child in a bubble. And that manifests in, like you were saying, having to figure out smaller things like what blood looks like, at the same time as trying to deal with more not grown up, but like teenage or infant style problems. Like you see that immediately when the first day when she walks out while the filter is disabled, she almost gets hit by a car. Yeah. At that age, like that's the kind of thing you learn when you're a kid. Like a parent points at you and goes, that moving metal thing is bad news, stay away from it. But she almost gets hurt, and things like, you know, seeing, maybe not, this is not a reference point for everyone, pornography in the playground. Yeah. That kind of like, if that's her only exposure to sex, that's her only frame of reference. And that
basically with the violence as well, because Trick, her boyfriend, shows her, you know, terrorists cutting people's heads off, people murdering each other, and that's her only real exposure to violence as well. There's no shades of grey in this. It is no violence or extreme ultra-violence. And we obviously see this manifest in the way that she has sex for the first time, because she talks like a porn star, and he's like, you don't have to do that. Not everyone does that. And then the way that she bludgeons her mother, it's extreme and over the top, but that's the only thing she knows. Compared to some of the later episodes in season 4, Arkangel is a bit on the lighter side in terms of Easter eggs and references, but here are all the things that we noticed.
So in the clip that Sarah's watching where the Arkangel setup is happening, that is actually footage from season 3, episode 5 of Black Mirror, Men Against Fire.
So we can see the UI of the Arkangel technology when Sarah is scrubbing through her memories and stuff. It looks very similar to the UI from The Grain. You might remember from the season 1 episode, The Entire History of You. It's the exact same kind of circle where you can go through and see your memories one by one. We know in this episode that this technology is not widespread, so it suggests that this episode takes place before The Entire History of You, where everyone and his wife seems to have a grain fitted.
So during the sequence in the playground where Trick is showing Sarah all the gnarly things on his tablet, one of the things he mentions is someone sawing their leg off, and we think that might be a sneaky reference to the Saw movie, which makes sense given all the torture porn stuff that he's also showing her.
So this one's got a hacksaw, and he's got to cut his own foot off.
So when Sarah's in class, the lesson is all about moral responsibility and free will. Obviously, these are the two subjects that are handled in this episode of Black Mirror. We also get a name drop for Oedipus, who you'll know as having something of a complex to do with his mother. There is a female version of the Oedipus conflict called the Electra complex. So within psychology, the way to resolve these conflicts is that the child needs to have a resolution with the same sex parent. So in the context of this episode, it would be Marie and Sarah. But as we know from the great bludgeoning at the end, this doesn't happen. And so Sarah would still be seen as suffering and struggling with this conflict.
So there's a reference to the Breakfast Club, and obviously there is a parallel between two characters in each of these series and movie. So Sarah is clearly dating Bender in the form of Trick. And they have very similar kind of life experiences. Both are beaten up by their dads, and both are the prototypical bad boy personas.
The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
And of course, music plays such a big role in Black Mirror. Charlie Brooker takes his music choices very, very seriously. The song in the outro credits is by The Pretenders, and it's called I'm a Mother. So Tam, what was your favorite moment from this episode?
I think it's the transitions in between the life periods that Sarah goes through. I'm a big fan of showing the progression through time, but not kind of doing it like by cutting to a clock and going
or a calendar flipping pages.
Calendar flipping pages. So we have this kind of the various moments where, you know, one's on the swing where she's kind of swinging and going out of the frame and then coming back a little older, and the other one's where she's walking along her street past the dog and she gets progressively older. It's just a nice little cinematography flair that I really appreciate.
It feels weird to say that my favorite moment was also the most awkward one, but I haven't had such a visceral reaction to something as I did when Marie watches Sarah have sex, which is possibly the most uncomfortable I've ever felt, but I thought that was such an incredible, powerful moment and made me just retch, basically.
It's like butt-clenchingly awkward.
Yes.
I was like, oh.
But it was incredibly well done.
Yeah. Okay, so overall impressions of Arkangel. I really enjoyed it. It terrifies me, and I'm not a parent, but I also it's something that I think about quite a bit. I studied psychology, as did you, and it was, you know, that kind of Oedipus and all that kind of stuff was something that came up. And over time, I've been thinking about how people treat their kids, and this is one of the kind of ideas that I've been grappling with in my head, and basically I'm going to stay away from technology for a little while now.
Yep.
So I give that 1 Black Mirror out of 1.
It honestly made me think about, back even from the time when we were kids, and your mum would be like, go outside, I'll see you at tea time. And it kind of makes me afraid for kids these days, in that is not what they have at all as an experience. They are constantly monitored, not even in person anymore, it's always online, and this is one of the Black Mirrors where I felt that this cut so close to reality already.
Yeah.
And it really freaked me out in that kind of way. But in terms of an actual Black Mirror episode, I really enjoyed it. Jodie Foster-directed it, which I thought was awesome, and she did a really great job. It definitely had that, I know she was going for the indie movie vibe, and she totally nailed that.
Yeah.
And I really like this episode, because a lot of the times you explore kind of the relationship between father-son. It's nice to really see a mother-daughter like deep dive into that relationship that doesn't fall by the usual pitfalls, I would say.
It doesn't just like dispose of it in the same way that a lot of Hollywood movies do. It's always like showing the father and son throwing balls and bonding, and mother and daughter's like, hey, see you later, bye.
Yeah,
So
not
it's
everything
good.
is like the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Mother-daughter relationships are complex, and I think this one was portrayed incredibly on the screen.
Unlike the Gilmore Girls, they speak at a normal pace to each other. They can understand what they're saying. There's gaps in the lines. I appreciated that.
Anyway, we're going to be breaking down the rest of this season of Black Mirror. Trust us, you don't want to miss it, because there are so many Easter eggs, and oh my god, Black Museum is going to blow your mind. So make sure you're subscribed to GameSpot Universe so you don't miss out. I'm on Twitter at LucyJamesGames.
And I'm at Tamoor H.
And we'll see you next time.